Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 94. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Will each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
Indiana State is interesting because they are one of many teams in the state of Indiana that have been in the national championship game. Is it just the three of them?
Four.
Indiana, Purdue, Butler, Indiana State. 4?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You thought I was the one bad at math.
Well, you know the thing is I
don't know which of the three you were, or
which one I wasn't counting.
Yeah, which one weren't you counting?
Honestly, I think I wasn't counting Indiana because, like,
it was before our lifetime.
Well, because so was Indiana State, but
that's true,
because they're the only ones that have won. And then
that's
I think
true. That's
so.
true.
I think national champions is just Indiana and Southern Indiana. Correct? Never dug into this, but I think that's correct.
Sounds right.
A D2 champion and then 5-time D1 champion. I actually saw, so Ryan Hammer put out a list of like his top 5 games historically that he wished he could have been to, and I think number 2, maybe it was his number 1. Number 1 or 2 on his list was Michigan State, Indiana State. It's the most watched
Magic.
It's the most watched national championship ever.
Yeah, which is crazy at a time when it wasn't as readily available. I feel like.
Well, it probably was because, like, if you look at like just like TV show numbers, even from like 20 years ago to now, they are way higher.
And I guess
your only option was watch it now or don't watch it.
That's true. That's true.
Watch it now or don't see it.
But also, it's also crazy just for the fact that, like, the population, I imagine, is much larger now than it was.
Yeah.
And I guess I was more thinking of, like, from a global presence, right? Like,
right.
I feel like the game has grown more now that, like, you might have people overseas or outside of the United States watching. I don't know if the metrics factor that in or if it's just like.
I'm sure it's counted, but like, I'm not sure how that works with like streaming, but I feel like that's just the one that, like, the legend of Larry Bird and like the legend of
Magic Johnson
was just like.
That's true.
It was just
that's
like
true. When's the last time we had a national championship where, like, there were 2 big names like that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. I feel like
Duke Butler?
Yeah, but I feel like, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, Gordon Hayward is not going to be a Hall of Famer. No offense to him.
But he was like, I feel like it was just because of the tournament that people learned who Gordon Hayward was.
That's true.
And it's a lot of it is with the shot. But like, people talked about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson all season because, like, as great as Magic Johnson was, Larry Bird was just putting up astronomical numbers.
Yeah,
and
video
like
game numbers.
They were both guards. Magic Johnson was humongous, but Larry Bird was smaller and just like you're like that guy, that guy.
Yeah, that's true. Who do you think is a better shooter in their prime, Pete Maravich or Larry Bird?
I mean, I don't know what his percentages were. If you want to say like better scorer, it's probably Pistol Pete, but if they had to play each other, I'd probably say Larry. Like, head to head,
I also don't think I don't think there are many people ever that are losing to Larry Bird head to head, or that are winning against Larry Bird head to head.
That's probably true. And they probably didn't even have the 3-point line when Pistol Pete was playing.
They didn't.
What did he have? 44 points a game in college? That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. I know Larry Bird like was Indiana State, but like 44 points a game.
No 3-point line.
Had to have been averaging in the 80s. Like, They were not. This was not like a Ben Howlett score 150. Like this.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But Larry Bird, the GOAT, best player from the state. I mean, no question. But we're not talking about the 70s here. We're talking about the 2020s. So last year, Matt Graves was new to the job. He was an assistant on Josh Schertz's team, the team that went to the NIT finals. Josh Schertz moves over a seat. He previously at Butler. If
Matt Graves
timeline's a little
a seat.
Otherwise, I say Josh Schertz. Matt Graves moves over a seat. If timeline's shifted by like a week, he might have been the head coach at Butler. But he went to South Alabama, came back up, Indiana State under Josh Schertz. Now the head coach, second year. So in his first year, they went 14-18. They finished 8-12 in the conference, which is definitely a step back from where they were, but this was one of the last job openings of the season because Josh Schertz did not depart until after their NIT run. So basically every other job opening was open, and all the players, the portal had been open for a month by the time he got the job. So he had a lot of work to do, with a lot of people following Josh Schertz over to St. Louis and going to power conference teams, deservedly so. But they finished last year at 196 in the Torvik rankings, which, close to 500 on his first year is pretty good. Hopefully we see some improvements in year two. The computers don't necessarily see it that way. So where do they have this ship going on year two for the Matt Graves era?
For their records, they are right. You said their preseason ranking, right?
No, I said their last year ranking.
Okay,
196 end of the year.
So preseason, their ranking, Torvik has them at 228 with a overall record of 12-19, going 7-13 in the Valley, which would have them 10 out of 11 tied for ninth. So metrics have them taking a step back in terms of overall record, largely due to their non-con schedule, but then taking a step forward by one game. No. Also, yeah, taking a game back. Math is hard. Did I make fun of you for math like
you did
a minute ago?
Yeah.
So metrics do have them taking a little bit of a step back, but we feel a little bit differently, and we'll talk about that. But they're key returners, right? So they do have Amp Swagner coming back, who is an incredible shooter. Shot almost 40% on 7 attempts per game from 3. They've got Marcus Harding, who's a 6'10" big man. He can stretch it a little bit, so big guy down low. What is with Indiana State and big men who can stretch the floor? Like their bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Then they've got Bruno Allison, who is a pretty big wing and a gritty defender. He's that do everything kind of guy. He's going to be in your face. He's going to get a bucket if you need him to. He can guard, several positions. And they've got Derek Forrest, who is a 6'10", very much a back to the basket big. So we'll see a lot of Marcus Harding and Derek Forrest kind of in and out, switching the way they play based on different matchups as game goes on. Several key departures, right? Jaden Daughtry, Denai Summers, Tyron Cook, Samaj Teal's a big one. Josiah Legree, Aaron Gray, and then Kamani Dowdy, all of which left for various reasons. But let's look at their new.
Yeah, so a lot more retention this year. They had those 4 key guys, and then I think all their walk-ons came back, which is good for continuity. Matt Graves has already said that they're just well ahead of where they were last year because the terminology is there, the base is there. They've got players who can catch other people up, and they feel like they're way ahead of where they were last offseason. And so the guys that are inserting themselves into this roster probably going to play a lot. Xavier Hall's a D2 transfer from Truman State. He's a shooter, passer. I mean, he's an all-league first-team guy and all-defensive team. He scored 19 points a game and was 9th in assist in the conference, in all of D2. So guy who can score, guy who can distribute, which is a really, really good thing because they lost Samaj Teal. They need guys who can handle the ball. They need guys who can distribute, and he's going to be one of them. Another one of those guys is Sterling Young. They got a lot of guards. They filled their roster with a lot of guards, which I like. Sterling Young was the SWAC Player of the Year from Florida A&M. He's another guy who can hit threes, and he takes a ton of them, but he hits them at a pretty high clip. Score on all three levels. Probably definitely the guy that the newest addition to this roster that I'm most excited about is Ian Scott. First team All-American at Grace. He's a winner, obviously. He went to Grace. He won four conference championships in a row. He never lost a conference championship while he was there. He's a wing who does it all, and he played in NAIA. He was the National Player of the Year runner-up, so Grace almost went back-to-back with Players of the Year, which is just crazy. I mean, the dynasty they built down there. But Ian Scott is like yeah.
Both from us geographically and Indiana State.
Yeah.
Up there.
Over there. He's a guy who you definitely want on your team. Like, he'll pick things up quick, and he's going to make a difference, even though he was playing at an NAIA level. Zaire Green, he's a D2 transfer from Georgia College. He's a dynamic guard, which is kind of something that I've noticed is they picked up a lot of dynamic guards who can do multiple things. And then Hunter Harding, yes, similar last name, same last name, some would even say, as Marcus Harding because it's his little brother. Hunter transfers from CMU. They're both from Canada.
He actually hit his little brother.
He's his younger brother. He's like me. Everyone's like, this is my little brother. I'm like, I'm bigger than you. He's a 7'1" center. He shot 72% last year, which is crazy. Don't expect him to like super stretch the floor, but he'll try. And then they've got like one notable freshman, Martin Hoppinger. So had some retention, brought some new guys in, a lot of good scoring, and hopefully guys like an all-league defender in the from D2, which is definitely something that they lacked last year. Their defense left a lot to be desired. They led the Missouri Valley in scoring, but lost a lot of games because of their defense. So if they keep that scoring up, seems like they will, and they bring that defense up, met some defensive shortcomings, filled those holes, they should be all right. What games do they have, Jaren?
Yes, so they have games. They play basketball on the court.
They have to have some. People don't know this. You got to play the games. You got to play the games.
You got to play the games. People forget about that sometimes.
Yeah.
So they do have an
hypothetical. Tell you got to play. At some point, you got to play the games, guys.
They do have an exhibition at Butler on October 29th. So we're really excited about that. That in-state matchup. It would be really cool for Graves going back.
Yeah.
So that's fun there, both for a variety of reasons. Then they play at SIUE. I about had a stroke there. On November 10th. Then they host Louisiana Tech on November 19th. After that, they play Ball State on November 22nd. Then they play in the Louisiana Tech MTE on the 26th, where they will again play Louisiana Tech. And then they will follow up that first MTE game with a game against Alcorn State on the 28th. So really interesting to see a non-conference game that you play the same team twice. That'll be really interesting and really fun to watch. See how they adjust with a week's time. Then they play at USI on December 7th. So they are making their rounds around the state of basketball, which is really cool for us.
Yeah. Is this a 3 or 4 year deal with them? I don't remember. They played
with
last
USI?
year. Yeah. Because they played.
I don't know.
They played.
It's at least 3.
It's at least 3 because they played 2 years ago, and like obviously, it went how we went. And then USI beat them last year.
Correct.
And we were like, that's kind of crazy. But stuff like the Louisiana Tech thing always stick out to me because they're so odd to see on the schedule. Like, remember when the conference realignment happened and I think there was like a Maui game and it was against two current Big 12 teams, but they were not both in the Big 12 when they both signed on to Maui. So then it was like a game in Maui, but it was not a conference game. Like it was this, we're playing in this conference team, not a conference game. So that's just really funny that they're playing them literally a week apart. So like, it's a home and home in the same season almost.
Yeah, I could almost see that happen with like the MAC Sunbelt Challenge, but also they'd make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I feel like
we're not gonna, we'll just shift it a little bit.
Like
these two teams,
they base it off of net ranking when they make the second matchup,
right? But they make both matches. But like it could have been a perfect match the first time.
Yeah, I think that they like kind of
they'll just flip one, flip one and make it work.
But so with those games, with the players we've talked about, right? Their season goals we have for them to get to 500.
Yeah.
That's a big one for us. Obviously, they didn't quite get there last year. They were 2 games off last year.
Right.
We do think that they have filled the gaps that they had, kind of retooled, readjusted. We do think that they can get there. Then we'd really like them to win a game in Arch Madness. That'd be huge. First round knockout is not what we're here for. It's not what we want. Obviously, we want them to go deeper, but at minimum, they can win that first round game. That is a huge accomplishment for them this season.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I think that getting the job so late obviously hurt Matt Graves and the players that were still available because a lot of people had already signed on. I think that we'll see a jump in year 2 with more continuity. And so let's talk about how what they're going to have to do to get there. So if they're going to get to above 500 or to 500 with the conference tournament factoring in, I think that, they're non-con. They play Eureka and Illinois Tech. Those are non-D1 teams. Count those as wins. I think they're going to beat Ball State. I think this team's a little bit ahead of where Ball State is right now. They're playing Louisiana Tech twice. I think they'll probably win at home. Then, anything could happen in that second game at Louisiana Tech. They'll probably beat USI and then Alcorn State. So that gives them 6 wins, 5, count the other 5. They've got some tough ones too. So go 6-5 in the non-con, and then what they do? 8-12 last year. Got to improve on that. Got to get to. I would like to see 11-9, but let's call it 10-10. In the Missouri Valley. That gives them 16-15 overall. That would get them, if they win a game in Arch Madness, that would get them to 17-15, which would be awesome. But 16-15 conference, 16-15 season during the regular season would be awesome. Love to see that for Matt Graves. Like, I am wishing him all the best, and I think that he's going to be successful. I think that it's not like even Josh Schertz lost a lot his first year. Lost more, I think, than Matt Graves did. But I think that they've got a good thing offensively. They've met their, like I said, they filled those defensive holes and got a lot of shooters, got a lot of all-league guys, but did a good job in the portal. And I think that they have an international kid. What's his name? Johan. He's from Belgium. He's from Belgium. Jeez.
He's Belgian.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say, but I kept trying to say he's Belgian. Yeah. And I think he's going to be pretty good. They call him Yo, I guess. It's just Yo.
Less syllables.
Yeah. So I think that, if they can if those players that they brought some NAIA guys, Ian Sky, I think that's going to translate fine. A couple D2 guys, a couple international guys. If those can translate to the D1, they're going to be perfectly fine. They're going to be sitting in, hopefully, at worst, the middle of the pack in the Missouri Valley and being not a surprise when they win games in Arch Madness, but like a team that you're watching Arch Madness locked in, like they could win this game for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on Indiana State?
No.
My big thing, I'm just excited to see what Graves is able to accomplish in his second year. Obviously, last year going into it, we talked about his time at South Alabama. That was not the best.
Yeah, but he says he learned a lot from that.
Yeah, and then last year, obviously, the timelines, didn't have the most opportunity to build the roster
Mm-hmm.
for his style, what he wanted, what he needed. So now that he's had that full cycle, that full year to figure it all out and get a better grasp, I'm very optimistic and very excited. And I know us saying them going 500 may not sound the most optimistic, but it's the step forward. I think we're optimistic for the step forward, and we do think that they're going to be able to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think that Illinois State, I think, is like predicted to win the Missouri Valley, and okay, that's fine. But like the Missouri Valley, I would say, is more open than it has been in the last couple of years. So I think it's a lot is up. The positioning could go anyway.
Yeah.
There's not a team like after we saw the Drake team like actually play last year, or just looked at Ben McCollum's resume. It's like, yeah, they're going to win this thing. I feel like it's more open than it has been in a while. So they could finish anywhere in here. I just want to see them finish on the positive end, and I think that is probably the more likely outcome for the Sycamores.
For sure. Well, with all of that, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next time. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.